Hey, welcome back. Carl Rominger here. Mark, do I have you?
Yes, you do, Carl. Happy weekend to you.
Happy weekend to you, too. We're going to take a couple of these other callers and finish up what I was talking about with them, but I wanted to get you on right away. Give us your great disclaimer. We just had mine. Let's hear yours.
Well, I'm an independent advisor representative offering securities and advisory services through Financial Network Investment Corporation, member SIPC, Mirrors Financial Partners, and Financial Network are not affiliated.
And Mark, as a teaser here, we're going to talk to you about finances here in a minute, but I want to get Frank here on the air, back on the air. Frank.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because the reason I wanted to hold you through the break, and I think is important, is you were talking about these cameras and the camera violations, and you were saying that you had a friend who borrowed your car down in Maryland who's a good guy, and now you got something in the mail.
Yeah, and it's again, Carl, it's a very, very small amount of the fine, but I'll tell you, I'll only take a very brief moment to be here about the computerized efficiency with which this was done, and have no doubt that this is just a money-making trap for the residents of that area. For anybody that's on the fence about should that come to this area. Now, that being said, there is a block here that says if I wish to name the driver, if I was not the driver, I could make a sworn statement to the court. I'm not going to do that. I have no doubt he doesn't even know this happened. No doubt at all. There's a paragraph on the face page that says failure to pay this will result in suspension of your motor vehicle registration. I followed up on that by calling PennDOT and asking them if they had such a reciprocity that they would do that if Maryland gave them a call. And they said no. But the lady that I was speaking to said, well, they might be able to mess with your license. Now, I don't want to take your whole afternoon on this small monetary issue, and I know you won't tell me to break the law, but what's the worst could happen here if I just blow this off?
The worst that could happen is they'll give you a failure to respond. They technically may have an enabling statute in their state which will allow them to suspend your driving privileges in Maryland. And then if you drove in Maryland, you would be guilty of a criminal offense. And if they convicted you of the right crime in Maryland, they could try to get reciprocity through Pennsylvania with our DMV. And there is something with failures to respond, because I do know that I had somebody who failed to respond to something in Maryland not too long ago, and Maryland suspended their driver's license, and PennDOT then reciprocated the suspension for failure to respond, which we do have up here. And we've been seeing this. We had a caller on the show a few months back who got a ticket. Some district judge out of like Pittsburgh said, oh, you owe us money from like 1993. This case was never closed. And the guy said it was bogus. He wasn't even in that area in 1993. But his dilemma was they were going to take his driver's license. So he either paid the fine or drove to Pittsburgh and had a hearing, which he's going to win. But if he didn't pay either way through the nose, they were going to take his license.
Yeah, I've heard you say it before. Pay the lesser amount. Take the path of least resistance. Like I said, it's just a thorn sticking in my foot here. You got to see these images. It's a deserted back road. 6:23 in the morning. Not a car on the road. Doesn't sit well.
Frank, we need to, and I really would love to somehow figure out how to do this, but I would love to get everybody in Pennsylvania for 1 week just to plead not guilty on every traffic ticket.
Carl, I'll tell you, I haven't had a ticket in over 3 decades, and, my initial response is just pay the darn thing. But, I wouldn't doubt that had an officer pulled him over and he pled his case, he's going down to help his wife, getting off the night shift. There are a couple struggling folks, and there's got to be some discretion here. These cameras, they're just
the camera has no discretion. It is that computer-like efficiency you were talking about. It mails out, and the money either comes in or it clicks through the system, and they don't care if you're Jeffrey Dahmer or an 88-year-old lady in her apartment.
And Carl, on the front of this here, it says in bold red print. And this is supposed to be how we're supposed to make our roadways more efficient. You make people more efficient by making them scared about their insurance go up or points. Here's in bold red print: payment of the penalty amount for the violation will not result in points and cannot be used to increase your insurance rates. Well, this small fine here, and I'll tell you, I'm $40.
Right.
That's going to make somebody a safer driver. This is boy. I hope Bob's listening.
I actually I feel your pain on this one, and I had another guy one time whose employee stole his car and started driving through the New Jersey Easy Pass things, and he kept getting reams and reams and reams of these things for like a year, and every one of them he'd have to dutifully photocopy the police report that his car was stolen and send it out, because for some reason the state of New Jersey just couldn't figure out to just go, okay, this is a stolen car, therefore we will just stop sending these tickets to the owner, even though, so 40 times he has to mail them something proving it was still a stolen car.
Did he ever get interaction with a human being, or was it all just computers taking care
You get
of
it, you mail it back, and then they forgive your fine. Yeah.
This year, this could be even paid online. A human being's not even going to interact with me or be involved in this.
Isn't that convenient for everybody involved?
Yeah. Great.
Frank, thank you very much. Hey, listen, here's the other thing. Just remember this. The cameras are going up everywhere, okay? And no matter what they're going to tell you they're going to use the camera for or not for, it's all software these days. So all they got to do, if they want to put up cameras to help regulate traffic, and make the lights run more efficient like they did in Carlisle, well, rewrite the software and it'll read your license plate and give you tickets in the whole 9 yards, and the same with every other camera up there. And all I can tell you is I think we're headed into a world where there's not going to be anything you can do or any place you can go that if they want to just, tap the database, you can't be found.
Yep.
All right, my friend.
Carl, thank you for your time.
Let's see here. Now, Mark.
Yes, sir.
I got two more guys here. We're going to take them real quick, but tease us a little bit. What are you going to tell us about the downgrade here in the credit rating of the United States?
Well, first of all, remember Fitch and Moody's did not downgrade. S&P did, and I kind of want to spend some time, or at least talk with you about the comments that S&P released on why they downgraded versus the reasons why Moody's and Fitch did not.
All right, so what I want people out there, if you're interested in this issue or this topic, I've got Mark here, and he's my financial guru. He knows more about this stuff than I do, or probably anybody else I know. And obviously, he's going to caveat it in a minute and tell us, he can't give you specific investment advice based on it. But if you have a question out there, you want to know more about how this works or what we're really talking about, it's 540-0580. Pastor Jim Grove.
Yes, Carl, I had talked with you before on Bob Durgan's show,
yeah.
Pastor Jim Grove.
Absolutely.
And my wife told me last week that you were talking about the fact that the jury can decide on the law as well as the facts.
Yes, jury nullification.
Right. And are you aware that there's a fully informed jury association?
I am.
Okay. I'm the Pennsylvania contact for that.
Oh, excellent.
And I did a 4-part, 1 hour each series on this issue. I'd like to send you a copy of that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And also, of course, it's Bible-related, justice, so on and so forth. And then I sent that to the Fully Informed Jury Association, and they made a 6-part, half-hour each session for churches called Challenge to Churches. And so folks might be interested in that to get a copy of that. I think it's like $50, and it's programmed and it's where you can have discussion and half-hour sessions and have discussions and understand it. So I just want to call and let you know that. But I'm going to send you the raw 4 1-hour sessions, and you can use it whatever you want.
Jim, will you hold on for a minute? I'm just going to have Shane get. I'm sure Bob has your contact. I'm going to have Shane get it. Maybe what we'll do is in a month or two schedule a time for you to come on for half an hour and talk with me about it too.
Okay, sure. That'd be great.
Hold on, Jim.
Okay.
Yeah, Jim and I have been on Durgan together debating. He's a great guy. I don't think he and I agree on everything, but we certainly have had some interesting discussions. Scott, you're on with Mark and Carl.
Hi, Carl.
Yeah.
I have a tenant issue. I have a property in York, the city of York, and I have 2 girls that are leasing the property. They came on the lease. The one was separated from her husband, and then the other one was a friend, okay? So anyhow, they had been paying pretty good up until about a month and a half ago. I'm going to say tenant number 1, job started getting not as consistent. So to make a long story short, they're behind on the rent. Now, if you're splitting it 50-50, which is what they're doing with the rent,
Right.
Tenant number one is pretty much the only one that's behind. And with just this past month rent that came due.
I gotta go to break here real quick. But when you come back, I think I have your answer. All right, hold on.
Okay.
Hey, welcome back, Scott.
Okay. Well, tenant number one is basically becoming irresponsible with her paying.
Right.
Tenant number two is responsible. She had been behind a little while ago, but she made every effort and got paid up.
Does your lease make them jointly and severally liable for the?
That's the way I have it written up. Yes.
Yeah. So they're each responsible for the whole if one doesn't pay. What I'm guessing is you're going to tell me you really don't want to harm the one if it's only one's really the problem.
Right. Well, yeah. Last night I was talking with the responsible one, and she said is there any way that we can get tenant number one out of the property? She would really like to get her out.
Yeah, I think here's the short answer. I'm not sure if you can evict just one of them at a time. I think you can, but even if you can't, you can evict both of them and have a side agreement with the other tenant that once you get the eviction from both of them, you'll just re-sign a possession for her.
Yeah. Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
Pretty good workaround.
Yeah, I think that'll work.
All right, man, we're going to go into some finances here real quick. All right, hold on.
Thanks.
Take care. Mark.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so, again, the setup here is the United States debt rating, sovereign debt rating, was downgraded by one of the reporting agencies, right?
Right, just S&P, Standard & Poor's.
All right, so what's going on? Tell us.
Well, Standard & Poor's is looking at the 3 to 5 year time horizon according to their statement on their website, which can be found at standardandpoors.com. Even though the United States, the Treasury, saying they made a $2 trillion, that's with a T, $2 trillion error, Standard & Poor's is still reaffirming their downgrade. And they're citing more reasoning on the political environment, saying the stalemate of getting some kind of debt resolution in place. The raise of debt ceiling was in the 11th hour, as we all know. And they're saying that the environment does not lend itself to solving the debt crisis in the United States. So therefore, taking that with the percent of GDP that we have outstanding and the percent of debt we're going to have going forward to 2015 outstanding and the political environment, that's why they downgraded us.
Right.
Which is unique because Moody's and Fitch never mentioned anything about the political environment. That was different.
Okay.
And on top of that, I mean, I don't know. I've been surfing the web, listening to different shows, this and that. I think this has been baked into the market. Everybody thought we were getting a downgrade from both Moody's and S&P. Yours truly, I didn't think they had the guts to do it because of what they did in 2008. They missed the whole mortgage security. I mean, all the CDOs and CMOs, they screwed the pooch on that one.
Right.
So I just didn't think they had the oomph to go ahead and issue a downgrade because that's all you're hearing here is everyone cites the whole what the S&P did, what Moody's did, and then the bottom part of every article says, but remember, back in 2008, I mean, that's not lost in the shuffle. Everybody really, really remembers that. So in the end, what does it mean? I don't think it's going to really do too much to the market whatsoever. In trading for clients' portfolios and whatnot. This is my 2 cents, my opinion.
Okay.
I think it's already been baked in. I think the market's always forward-looking. It's already been discounted in. If anything, you might get 0.05, 0.10. So that's 5. We call that 5 bips, 10 bips on the short-term treasuries. You might see some people move to high-grade corporate debt.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, I think it's. I just think it's already overdone, and unless we get something bad out of Europe or bad out of someplace else, I just don't see this being other than pundits on Monday's TV and pundits on the radio like me talking about it. I just don't think it's going to be in play this week.
Do you think it's possible that, again, this could be a good thing because now that it's actually been done, it sends a call back to the politicians that, hey, you actually can destroy your debt rating. You know, nobody's going to just let you do what you want. And so then the markets say this is good because maybe this will become something that will help galvanize some political will to actually reform things a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very, very good point. If you think of people who their credit score was hurt by not paying the mortgage or having to do bankruptcy or being late on an electric bill or a credit card bill, what have you, now all of a sudden the United States FICO score it has been effective, and it's not a laughing matter whatsoever. So, yeah, it is a wake-up call, and believe you me, it's going to be very prominent. I mean, I think all the Republican hopefuls, and
right.
it seems to be every day it seems to be a new one, they're all pontificating on the throne that's at Obama's feet. And they're going to make sure everybody they're going to play this up quite a bit. And unfortunately, I think they're going to make this seem like Armageddon, which in reality, and that's something about the 500-point drop. If you want to talk about that too, I just call it a crisis in confidence. There's no double-dip recession that I'm seeing. There's no hurting of the market. I'm calling it a crisis of confidence.
Now, and we'll come back to that 500-point drop in a minute because I'm going to take a couple callers real quick. But if somebody wanted to get in touch with you in the meantime, because obviously right now I'm just talking to you about generalized the market conditions, et cetera. But if somebody wanted some specific investment advice and wanted to get together with you, how would they do that?
Yeah, thank you. Two ways. You can give me a call at 717-509-4521, or you can find me on the internet at Mirus. That's M as in Mark, IRUS, Mirus, Financial Partners, and Partners is plural.com.
And I just would say, obviously, that if you can hear us on the radio today, I always joke you can use me as a lawyer because we cover the same area as WHP's footprint, and I know the same with your your practice as well. So
I have probably more of a national exposure just because I have clients who, at one time or another, either worked here or I have a family member here, and they said, hey, you got to talk to my kids or my brother or my sister-in-law, what have you. So I have jurisdiction, or I should say I'm licensed in Kansas and Ohio, Indiana, and probably soon to be New Mexico, actually.
Oh, excellent. So, I was not aware of that. That's pretty cool. Let's see. Who's next on the caller board here? Dan, you're on with Carl and Mark. Dan, you there?
Yes, Carl. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah.
Two quick questions for you. My relative of mine received a bill from an ambulance company for advanced life support, and it was $1,000. A lot of money for her. There's no way that she can pay that amount in any form of a bigger payment per month. The question to you is, if she faithfully every month paid $10 to $15 per month to that ambulance company, is there anything legally that they can do against her if she does in fact make a small payment like that each month?
Well, they can still sue her for not paying the full amount due, but the reality is every creditor knows that if you're getting some money in, it's better than none, and there's probably a reason why. I find sometimes if they did sue her, I usually would end up calling up the other side and getting together with the attorney and saying, realistically, here's our budget, here's what we can afford, and by the way, here's our draft bankruptcy petition if you don't like it.
Okay. And before she would do that, we would put a letter together and inform them that's what we're going to have to do.
And that's a good way to do it.
You say it is a good way?
It is a good way to write them a letter and say, here's our situation, here's the minimum payments we can make. And they may not like it, and they might still hassle you a little bit because a lot of times, they want to make sure that you're really, hey, I can only pay $5 a month. Well, maybe you could pay $50. They don't know that, but if you can get a meeting of the minds, and a lot of times, again, if you just contact them up front, it sort of says, hey, I'm taking ownership of this problem.
Yep.
I just can't solve it right now.
Yes, sir. Second question. The same relative she lives in a mobile home park. She owns a mobile home. She is renting the land. Two big trees on the land. The trees are infested with carpenter ants, and the carpenter ants are continually coming in her home. She sprays as often as she can afford to do so. The the company that comes out and does the spraying indicates that the only way that she's going to be able to beat this problem is to have those trees taken down. Trees are very large, been around a long time, a lot of dead branches coming down, etc. However, what kind of legal standing does she have with the owner of the mobile home park? Any at all? Because their trees are, in fact, causing her some problems. And some structural problems. The ants are, in fact, eating away at the wood.
Yeah, the short answer is I guess she could make a complaint against the landlord, or she could file a lawsuit to have him clean up the situation. But the short answer is it's also your landlord, and you bite that hand too hard, and then they can find 10 other things that you probably got to fix yourself.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay.
All right, my friend.
Thank you.
So, Mark, I'm going to go to break here, and when we get back, we're going to talk with Linda and Frank, but I want to hear a little bit more about this 500-point dip, okay?
Okay, that's good.
All right. Hey, Carl Rominger here. I got Mark Virginus with me, 540-0580. We're talking about the financial situation in the United States, kind of in general terms. Obviously, if somebody out there wants to get hold of Mark, just we'll get his contact information in a minute, or you can get hold of me, and I'll get you to him. But, Mark, what about this $500 dip we saw the other day?
Yeah, the 500-point dip, if
$500.
If we were watching it, $500 would have been okay. If you were watching it on TV, let's say you're watching like CNBC or Fox Business News or whatever, and you saw the ticker, at about 2 o'clock, 2:30 or so, it really accelerated to 4 o'clock. And that was systematic of why I think we got to the 500-point drop was it's more computerized than it ever has been before. So you have more algorithms there. So for, let's say, Carl Rominger owns XYZ stock. He said, I bought it for 65. Put me in the first stop loss at 57.5. Okay, so that's locked, that's loaded, that's ready to go. So whenever that stock starts trading down and it hits that price, that computer, boom, it's going to sell it. It's going to sell at the next available price. And it happens split seconds, nanoseconds, if you will, as long as there's someone on the other end to buy it. And that's what you had. You had like just quick over the top trading where it wasn't actually traders on the floor placing orders. It was all computerized, and that's why it got so fast, so aggressive. What I've been communicating to my clients is I'm kind of happy that it went this fast, this quickly. I'd rather it be this fast than a long, drawn-out 3, 4, 5, 7 month or whatever process to get down to this point. We corrected over 10%. I was telling one client yesterday, I think at worst case, this is my own opinion now, worst case we have another 3 to 5% down. After that, everything looks very bullish. I haven't changed my outlook for the rest of the year. We have corporate profits are stronger than they ever have. We have an inverted yield curve, and for those listeners who don't understand what that means, it means you're getting paid more to keep your money short or your debt short than you are to go long. So, which typically is a regular sloping bell curve. Regular sloping curve would have you, if you took out a money market, you would get paid nothing, but if you took out a 30-year bond, you get paid higher.
Right.
Now it's actually inverted. It's the opposite. So recessions don't happen with inverted yield curves. They don't happen with corporate profits being as great as they are. And it does not happen when you have cheap, free money from the Fed and from the borrowing power. Interest rates are so low. Never, ever, ever in our nation's history, and quite frankly in anybody else's nation's history, do you have a recession when you have those things going on. Now, you have the unemployment number was pretty good. That came out Friday. Actually, it was good. It wasn't great. It didn't have all the teachers who were laid off nationwide who were laid off in July. That number won't show up probably until like next week. So I'm eager to see how these numbers get revised. But right now, I haven't changed. I'm bullish to the end of the year. I want to see what this credit rating means come Monday, Tuesday, as it gets discussed and flushed through the market. But right now, I'm still a believer U.S. is AAA. Moody's and Fitch still believe that we're AAA. S&P is the only one that does not. So I'm still bullish on America. I'm still bullish on the market.
Gotcha. All right. Well, let's see if we've got some callers here who want to talk with you. Linda, you're on with Carl and Mark.
Unfortunately, this is just a general comment, and I wish I had thought more about questions asked Mark because he's doing a wonderful job. But thinking about your report, your anecdote of dealing with your client, with a neighbor problems, it seems to me nobody's saying this, but it seems to me that it's just a basic law of nature that the closer we live together, the more problems we have, the more people we have, the closer we have to live together, you know. And I don't think there are easy answers.
Right.
And if you want your first kid to have more freedoms, don't have more kids, because we're going to have to affect each other. And if I want a barking dog all night, then you're not going to have a good night's sleep. If I'm going to be a lousy mother and my kid's going to not have, you know, standards and respect himself and respect others, you might suffer a home invasion because I was a lousy mother. We get calls on Bob Durgan from people up in Juniata County and Schuylkill County, and they say, I don't need no permit for a fence. Well, that's because he doesn't have neighbors.
Right.
And nobody's saying that. It's like we're all in a Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme. Is we need more customers, we need more consumers, and we're not thinking about what kind of life they're going to have. The gas companies are like, we have 100 years of oil left, or 100 years of gas. I mean, that's nothing if you're having kids.
Right.
You know, I mean, that's like saying, is it okay if civilization as we know it ends in 100 years?
Well, Linda, the plan is hopefully we can, with green jobs and the green czars and everything, we can fix that. And I'm being a little facetious, but I did say to my nephew one time, hey, I threw a tin can in the garbage can, and he became very upset because obviously I'm supposed to be recycling it. And I told him, I said, tell your school teacher that if she can stop the sun from expanding and consuming the earth in 5 billion years, I will start recycling immediately.
And in the big picture, we have it wonderful in the United States. I mean, yes, the poorest person lives like a king in some countries, but the most taxed, most abused person in this country still lives like a king compared to the average person that's worrying about a machete attack overnight from a neighboring village someplace.
I have a friend from the Middle East who said, he goes, after I came over here and lived here a couple of years, he goes, I'm convinced nobody over here knows how good it is over here. There's nobody trying to blow me up.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, I'll let you go.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your thoughts. You know, Mark, I mean, I guess I understand what she's trying to say, which is, you know, at some point, everybody affects everybody and everything affects everything. And this is, of course, this can take you right back to the markets.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for every buyer, you need a seller. You know, people always ask me, how high can gold go? And I'm like, well, as long as there's buyers, gold's going to go higher. And I would imagine gold's going to go higher on Monday, just based on this credit downgrading. Folks will leave U.S. Treasuries, and they'll be looking to go to more to gold, so it'll push that a little bit higher.
Now, I got a comment on Facebook here a second ago. I disagree with your guest on the radio concerning our bonds deserve an AAA rating. Do you honestly think the government can pay back $14 trillion in principal when the unfunded liabilities for SS and Medicare, which is Social Security, are $56 trillion?
Well, they don't have to pay them all right back right now. I mean, you're talking, you know, when you talk the T word, trillion, all they have to do is put us on a sustainable path and cut spending. Here's a news flash: tax rates are going to go up, and they're going to go up on everybody. I do think you're going to see some kind of the Obamacare get rolled back a little bit or not get affected in 2014. But no, I do believe we can pay for our debt. I do believe we can pay for our debt, and that's going to be once we get growth. That's the big misnomer here. We don't have job growth. We don't have economic growth. Once you get job growth, economic growth, you have income taxes. You have capital gains taxes. You have all kinds of the taxes that start flooding into the government that right now we're not getting because there's several million people unemployed.
Right.
So.
Yeah, interesting. Let's see who's next on the caller board here. Whoops. Well, that didn't work. Okay. Frank.
Yes.
You're on with Carl and Mark.
Thank you for taking my call. The other day I was talking to a coworker, and they related an incident where they were cited for some traffic violation in a trailer park.
Right.
You know, now trailer park, fast food place, Walmart, all of those I would call private property. Now, what authority do the police have on private property like that?
I got the answer for you. If the development is large enough, I forget how many acres it is, but if it's over a certain number of acres, so if you go to like the mall, for instance, the traffic laws apply on that parking lot as if you were on a highway of the Commonwealth because there's a law that says once the development or the road structure is big enough and there's enough acreage in the overall commercial construction, the law applies. So that's answer number one. In smaller venues, there's a question of whether it's a traffic way or a highway. Some crimes only can occur on highways. Some crimes can occur in traffic ways or other kind of non-highway type areas. And so one of the tests is it open to the public, and do people routinely drive through it from the public? So there was a case where there was an Elks Club, and people used to cut through the Elks parking lot all the time to get from one road to the other. And there was testimony to that effect, and everybody agreed it was true. And the court said it's not a private parking lot if people regularly cut through it to get from A to B. It's now become a traffic way, and therefore you can get a DUI in the parking lot. So point being is whether or not the traffic laws apply, there are statutory bases which will bring it onto private property if the development and the roadways are big enough. On the other hand, it can apply because it's customarily open to traffic. So as you can imagine, I've had this case. Are there 14 trailers or 3? Because if we got 14 trailers, the government's probably going to argue lots of people come and go up that roadway into that trailer park, right? But if it's 2 guys with 2 trailers side by side on the end of a 1,000-foot lane, and one of them gets in a fight with his wife, and she calls the state police, and he's driving down the lane, and they're driving up the lane, and they arrest him for DUI, I've beat that. All right?
Yeah, okay. All right. Thanks a lot.
All right, brother. Yeah, Mark, a lot of strange quirks in the law on what's a traffic way or not a traffic way. There's actually a case out of Philadelphia recently where the guy was drunk on the airport runway driving the luggage truck around.
Okay.
And the court said that's not a highway because that's not open to the public. You can't just drive on the airport,
Well, wasn't there a case where a guy was actually... he was driving his lawnmower to the bar, or no?
Yeah,
the bar.
yes, we've seen that in Carlisle area. They just recently tried to give some lady a DUI on her electric wheelchair. And I don't know how that one's going to pan out because somebody told me that actually they're exempted as motor vehicles. Anthony, you're on with Carl and Mark.
Yes, good afternoon, Carl and Mark. I got a question. I got one of those photo speeding tickets down in D.C., and I recently moved from Kansas to here. The thing is that, we all know it was just crazy talk as far as me speeding down there, because I don't speed. However, by the time I got the notice of what they accused me of, they already jumped the price up to, double the fine.
Right.
And, I just more or less gassed it off at the point. Now, what happened is that they put it on my credit report.
Huh.
And when I contested it, they reaffirmed the debt. And
Okay.
I don't understand how the city of D.C. can do that without any.
You didn't fight the ticket, right?
No, I didn't even know about it until 2 months after the fact.
Is it paid off now?
No, never paid it off yet, never did anything on it.
So they're reporting it out as open. They probably have some statutory authority to do that. They do it around here. So if you don't pay your child support or you have an open judgment at the courthouse, for instance, they'll throw those on your credit report.
And even though I don't have the tag and they can't really, they didn't really prove their case, is there a way that I can...
Right. Well, this is the problem with failures to respond, and this is your dilemma. Your dilemma is if you don't do anything, you don't respond at all, then you get a default judgment or a failure to respond put against you, and they take action on that basis. If you go down and show up, it costs you more to do that in time and energy and money to defend yourself. So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
I got you.
All right, brother. I got to go to break. Shane's pounding on the glass.
All
right. 540-0580. Come on and talk with Carl and Mark. Hey, welcome back. Carl Rominger here with Mark Virginis. And Shane, I can't see who's on line 2 for some reason. Gail, you're on with Carl and Mark.
Hi, Carl and Mark. In your opinion, do you think a power of attorney is as important as having a will and a living will?
I think, here's the answer. If you die without a living will, you're already dead, so it doesn't matter, I guess. But if you're in the hospital and you don't have a living will, something ultimately is going to happen. The family and the courts eventually are going to figure out what your intentions were with less than perfect evidence, okay? But nonetheless, something's going to be resolved there. With the will, if you die without a will, there's laws of intestacy that'll fill in and kind of handle things, but again, probably without perfect information on how you actually wanted it done, but it'll still work itself out. And the power of attorney, if you don't have one, somebody can go get a guardianship, and again, without perfect information as to who you wanted to run things, the court will find somebody who's willing to raise their right hand, swear that they'll do a good job at it. So all three instruments, if they're not there, aren't really necessary, but they're helpful.
Okay.
So
I was thinking more about like if a parent became incapacitated and couldn't speak for himself, and there was property that needed sold, or
right, and so but you can go get that guardianship. And so my point is, for each document, there's a problem if you don't have it. But the law recognizes that most people just sit on their hands and don't do what they should do. But here's the problem. Then the judge and the litigants and whoever gets involved picks, or the law picks, what happens to your estate, who takes care of your mom, what home she ends up in. You don't have that ability to designate that by not doing those things yourself. Okay. And so the power of those documents isn't so much that they're absolutely necessary to make things work. It's that without them, we can't. But here's the answer. You ready? Power of attorney is probably the most important, only because it's the first one you need most of the time.
exactly, to take care of all the other issues.
Right.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, Mark, you deal with some of these things too.
Yeah, I mean, living will, power of attorney, having the will first and foremost have the will. That's the biggie. I mean, I can't believe how many people of means come in my office and will say, "Yeah, we got one when we were married." Well, that was 36 years ago. Some things have changed, and the power of attorney is always good because you never know what's going to happen. And then the living will, the Terry Schiavo case, that's the one that healthcare proxy, living will, whatever you want to call it in PA. That one, I think, is the greatest act of love one can do for their loved ones.
We had, and now think about that case, because I don't care. There's people on that case became a poster child case, and everybody had different opinions on it. But here's the tragedy of it. The tragedy of it is you've got a husband who says this is what she wanted, and you've got parents who say this is our daughter and this is what she wanted, and you've got a life insurance policy payable to the husband, and you've got people making recriminations that the only reason he feels the way he does is because there's a life insurance policy in place, which has got to be a bunch of garbage, because there's plenty of people who are in favor of not having being maintained in a permanent vegetative state. So to say that that's some motivation, I mean, his position was fairly normal based on what most people actually pick. The parents were actually in the minority when it comes to what people actually pick. But nonetheless, they both truly loved her, and they both truly thought they were doing the right thing, and she could have solved the problem by telling them who was right.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that was very well said.
And that to me is what I always tell people. The living will has nothing to do with what you want and everything to do with making sure your family knows what you want. And that's the only difference. I guess, Mark, what else do you want to tell us? Is there anything else we should be looking for? I mean, when the markets open on Monday, and I guess we got this whole European debt crisis still burning in the background.
Yeah, there seems to be an European Union debt deal on the table, at least for Spain and some other countries. That could be a game changer. That could be a game changer to the positive for us. No, I tell you what. One thing I've been reading this weekend is GOP's asking for Timothy Geithner, Treasury Secretary, to resign. And, of course, Obama wants him to stick around. One thing he did, which the European Union did not, and I would think this is the reason why they're having a lot more problems over there, is Geithner made banks over here through 2008. He made them exponentially raise their capital reserves, their cash. He said, hey, cash is cheap. We got it here in the Fed. Come get it. Add it to your balance sheets. Shore up your position. We don't want you guys being insolvent. Come get the money. It's here.
Right.
And he went above and beyond what was typical, what used to be regulations. I mean, I don't know the exact number, but I'll just throw this out to say it was like tenfold. Where in Europe, they didn't do that. And you're finding banks having problems over problems over problems. And they don't have a whole lot of banks over in Europe. I mean, with the socialist government over there, they have several banks, but they don't have as many as we do over here, the small community banks and credit unions and everything we have over here. So I think that's part of their problem. They just have a different way of doing the monetary system. And, of course, we're a world economy. And everything you hear about Europe, France and Germany are still rated AAA by S&P. Just throw that in there for you.
Right, interesting. So on Monday morning, I guess, we can watch what the stock market is. An interesting thing is while we were in one of the breaks, I just looked at my very modest E-Trade account. It is very modest. I'm just a hobby guy with it. But I looked at the balance, and I was kind of laughing because it's the same balance it was the week before and the week before that and the week before that. And I think a lot of these wide swings are index swings,
Yeah, I think a lot of it's index swings. There's a lot of people who invest just in the index. There's a lot of people who just invest in the ETFs, which is exchange trading funds and so forth. There are a lot of folks out there, and there's a lot more movement in the market, and it's very fluid than it ever has been. So for a lot of folks, I only had 2 of my clients call me, which is indicative of maybe it's my education of them and what the market will do.
In other words, nobody was freaking out. Your phone didn't melt.
No, exactly. And I had mutual fund wholesalers calling me even, saying, hey, I want to give you our insight. Our fund managers are saying this, our fund managers are saying that. We know your clients are calling you and everything. I'm like, no. I got 1 today, and I'm probably going to get another one tomorrow. But no, I had 1. I am the guy doing the calling. I'm providing the hand holding, the wisdom, the experience. I'm trying to tell them, hang tough. This too shall pass, and I do believe this shall pass, and I think it is going to be a buying opportunity. I'm just not sure if it's over yet, if the bottom's here. But then again, I never try to market time. I never try to call a bottom. But I think we go up from here. We might have a little pullback yet on this debt deal stuff, but I think we go up from here. And again, I'm bullish on the market right now.
Mark, I'm going to run out of time here. So, everybody knows if they want to get hold of me, just to call me here or just go to romingerlaw.com to find the office and read more about my lawyers. But how are they going to get hold of you if they want to talk to you about some financial stuff?
Yeah, and throughout the mid-state or wherever your phone will reach, I'm happy to go to. Phone number is 509-4521, and do comprehensive financial and financial planning for folks, wealth advisement if they like. And then also you can reach me via the web, or I'll give you my email for folks. My email is Mark, M-A-R-K, at mirusfinancialpartners.com, and you can find that on the web as well. It's M as in Mark, I-R-U-S, financialpartners.com.
Yeah, and Mark, thanks for coming on with us today. I know that obviously I come here every Saturday, and some of my friends really like to make fun of me. They're like, but you've really screwed up your Saturday afternoons. And I was like, no, I really enjoy this. And I've heard R.J. Harris actually say this too, like where, he comes in on Saturday mornings and he's like, he's a radio junkie. I'm not a radio junkie in the sense that I have to be a lawyer a lot of the time, and I really enjoy my job. I've just kind of got another passion here with the radio that's just kind of worked out real well. I don't really enjoy it, but I know that it's a commitment away from your kids, and so I think the listeners should thank you for that, okay?
Well, thank you very much for having me, and I enjoy doing this as well. Have me on anytime you want.
All right, brother. I'll see you soon. Hey, guys, I'll be back next week live 1 to 3, or maybe I'm going to be out of town fishing in Florida. I haven't decided whether I'm going to be live next week or not. But anyhow, I will see you next week either way.